Today, we'll explore the key symptoms of a bad crankshaft position sensor and how to test it. What is a crankshaft position sensor? Your engine wouldn't run properly without the crankshaft position sensor. Why is it so important? Because it's the only part responsible for tracking the exact position of the crankshaft. But what exactly is a crankshaft? It's a highly engineered metal component about 2 feet long inside your engine, connected directly to the pistons. And what does it do? As the pistons move up and down, generating immense linear power, the crankshaft rotates, converting that linear motion into rotational force. This rotational power is transmitted to other essential parts of the vehicle, making the entire engine function smoothly. In modern cars, the crankshaft position sensor sends crucial data to the ECU. It helps manage fuel injection, ignition timing, RPM, and more. But here's the catch. When this sensor starts to fail, things can quickly spiral out of control. Stay tuned. I'll share what to do if you think the crankshaft sensor is faulty. The first symptom of a bad crankshaft position sensor is unusual exhaust smells. A failing crankshaft position sensor can disrupt engine timing and lead to incomplete combustion. This unburned fuel will get into the exhaust system. As a result, you might notice a strong, foul smell, like sulfur or raw gasoline. If you ignore it, the problem can worsen, damaging your catalytic converter. The second bad crankshaft position sensor symptom is decreased fuel efficiency. A bad crankshaft position sensor messes up fuel injection and ignition timing. This leads to poor combustion, where more fuel is used than necessary to achieve the same performance. As a result, your engine burns through fuel at a higher rate and lowers your miles per gallon. The third faulty crankshaft sensor symptom is rough idling. A bad crankshaft position sensor sends incorrect signals to the ECU, which affects engine timing and the fuel-air mixture. Consequently, the engine might start idling rough, with the RPM going up and down. You might notice the car feels shaky, like it's about to stall, even when idling in park or at a light. To fix your car's rough idling, click the link above for a step-by-step guide on common causes and solutions. The fourth crankshaft failure symptom is misfiring of the cylinder. This happens because the sensor provides the ECU with real-time data on the position of the crankshaft. When the sensor fails, it sends erratic or no signals at all, leading to incorrect firing sequences. As a result, specific cylinders may misfire, especially during acceleration or at higher RPMs. By the way, if you're finding this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It helps us keep bringing you more car maintenance tips. I'll give you a second. Got it? Great, let's keep going. The fifth sign of a bad crank position sensor is delayed acceleration. If the sensor fails, it won't send accurate data about the cylinder positions to the vehicle's computer. This means there will be a delay between the data coming in and the adjustments being made. When your speed increases, the timing of sparks and fuel needs to be in sync. But if the sensor can't measure the RPMs correctly, the car won't accelerate smoothly. That's why the throttle hesitates and responds poorly. The sixth bad CPS symptom is erratic starting. If the sensor fails completely, the ECM won't be able to read the crankshaft's RPM or position. This means it can't tell when to send the spark or fuel for combustion. At first, you might have trouble starting the engine, but if it's not fixed, the car might eventually refuse to start altogether. Keep in mind, though, that this starting issue could also be due to a wiring or circuit problem in the system. The seventh symptom of a bad crankshaft position sensor is stalling. Unexpected stalling can happen at any speed, making it a dangerous situation, particularly in traffic. Stalling not only affects your vehicle's drivability, but also poses a safety risk. If your car frequently stalls or has trouble maintaining idle, The crankshaft position sensor might be the culprit. The eighth symptom of a failing crankshaft position sensor is check engine light illumination. If the sensor overheats, it might trigger the light. Letting the engine cool down for a bit can sometimes fix it, since the sensor cools off too, and the light might turn off. If the light stays on, you can drive to a shop and get your car scanned for free. However, it's a good idea to have your own OBD2 scanner. I've added a link in the description below to the best entry-level scanner. The ninth symptom of a faulty crankshaft sensor is irregular RPM readings on the tachometer. When the sensor starts to fail, it can send erratic signals to the ECU, causing the RPM gauge to behave unpredictably. You might see sudden spikes or drops in RPM, even when the car is idle or moving at a constant speed. This issue typically happens because the faulty sensor isn't accurately tracking the crankshaft's position, resulting in inconsistent data being sent to the engine control unit. How to test the crankshaft position sensor. You can use a multimeter or an oscilloscope, depending on the type of sensor your vehicle has. Here's a step-by-step approach. First, locate the sensor. The crankshaft position sensor is typically located near the crankshaft itself, either at the front of the engine by the crankshaft pulley, on the engine block, or near the transmission bell housing. In some models, it may also be behind the timing cover. Its exact position varies based on the vehicle's make and model. Testing a 2-wire sensor. Disconnect the sensor and set your multimeter to the resistance setting. After that, place the leads on the sensor terminals and compare the reading with the specifications in your service manual. Normal readings usually fall between 200 to 1,200 ohms. Once that's done, reconnect the sensor and set your multimeter to measure AC voltage. While cranking the engine, the reading should show a small AC voltage of 0.2 to 2 volts. If there's no voltage, the sensor may be faulty. Testing a 3-wire or Hall effect sensor. For 3-wire sensors, disconnect the sensor and set the multimeter to measure DC voltage. With the ignition on but the engine off, measure the voltage between the sensor's power wire and ground. You should see around 5 or 12 volts depending on your vehicle. Next, reconnect the sensor and measure the voltage between the signal wire and ground while cranking the engine. The voltage should fluctuate between 0 and 5 volts, or in 0 and 12 volts. Connect the oscilloscope to the sensor's signal wire to observe the waveform. A healthy Hall effect sensor will show a consistent square wave pattern. Analyze the results. Finally, compare the multimeter or oscilloscope readings with your vehicle's manual specifications. If the readings are outside the specified range or show no voltage fluctuation, the sensor may be faulty and need replacement. How long can you drive with a bad crankshaft sensor? You shouldn't drive with a bad crankshaft position sensor for more than a short distance. It can cause stalling, loss of power, or prevent your car from starting altogether. How much does it cost to replace the crankshaft position sensor? The price ranges from $120 to $400, depending on the make and model of the vehicle. This includes both parts and labor. The part itself usually costs between $50 and $150, while labor expenses can range from $60 to $250. We've covered the key symptoms of a bad crankshaft position sensor and how to diagnose the issue. If this video helped, check out our guide on the symptoms of a bad camshaft position sensor next.